Oh, I broke it. Okay. Hello, can you hear me? Okay, great. So I was going to share and talk more about the sinful woman, and just from my personal study and my own journey, and I know that we were just talking about guilt and shame, and it's something that I have been on a journey myself to figure that out, and it's just been so much, whether that's like me personally going to counseling or me reading different books on it. Like, I think it really helped me understand even like what is true guilt, what is not true guilt, what is shame, and putting it all in its proper place. Thank you. And so I wanted to start off with this quote by Brené Brown. She's a researcher in shame specifically, and so many other things, and has written so many books, if you've not heard of her. But this quote is, shame is basically the fear of being unlovable. It's the total opposite of owning our story and feeling worthy. Shame is the intensely painful feeling or experience of believing that we are flawed and therefore unworthy of love and belonging. And I think this does put a lot of, you're probably already starting to think, as you have already read about the sinful woman, like so many of these things come out and come to light. And so I wanted to go even deeper on these things about what is guilt and what is shame. And for guilt, guilt is, as Drew shared, tends to be things that we've done, things that we're concerned about, actions that we've done, sin, like if you were thinking in biblical terms. And it's true, it's a fact, it's happened, I've done it, it's over, like it's there's nothing you can change about that. And usually we can feel, thank you. It can be like, I've messed up, I've hurt this person, I've cheated, I've stealed, I've lied, like it's something that we have done. How we can feel it can be, I feel bad about this, and this even can go into, if you're familiar with godly and worldly sorrow, you could feel different types of things about your guilt. And it also can come from even our conscience. If we're not Christians, maybe it's simply just what we believe to be right and wrong. But then guilt, truly in a biblical sense, would be we have sinned. And then how we deal with it is we can feel guilty and we want to right our wrongs, or we can apologize to someone, we can apologize to God, we move on. But sometimes we avoid admitting those mistakes, avoid admitting that we've committed a sin or guilt, and that is also a possibility there as well. But when we take this too far, sometimes guilt can become shame. It's something where it tends to then go to who we are. Like for me personally, in my own study or my own journey, is I've done this bad thing, therefore I am bad, and I've drawn that conclusion. And so for that, it could be I'm dumb, I'm stupid, I'm not good enough. Like if they must all be thinking this about me. If I do this one thing, this is going to determine who I am, and this is going to be defining me. It could also be if they really knew what I thought or I did, they wouldn't like me. So those are all examples in how we feel it. And how we feel in our bodies it could be anything. It's different for everyone. So it's good to even know, like, how do we feel shame? Sometimes it's you turn bright red, or sometimes it's heart racing, or sometimes it's just sweating, or, it could be so many things. It could be anger, it could be lashing out. And so it could be all different things. And then how we deal with it. There is a researcher, Dr. Hartling, who had defined shame coming out in these different ways. And she said that we can either move away, we can withdraw, we can hide, we can silence, we can keep secrets, or we could move towards people. Let me please this person, let me appease this person, let me do whatever they say, and just come up with the right appearance. Or it could be against, choosing to have power over somebody, being aggressive, or shaming other people, using their shame to shame others. So we see it come out, and every person could have all forms of these in different times in different ways. But that is typically how one would deal with shame. And so there's a lot of potential shame, as you guys just saw in the sinful woman. And the woman had faced so many different types of shame from socially. And the scripture, it says what kind of woman she is, that she is a sinner. You can see and feel and sense the judgment even within just that statement, right? There's a type of shame that in this culture, it was first an honor shame culture. So it was just like everyone knew who this woman was. I mean, her name in the Bible is the sinful woman, right? That's typically, right? That's her identity. That's why we want a name for her, right? But this is what we have. And from that, like she, knowing that she is a sinful woman, it's typically that it is a form of sexual sin. And in that culture, everyone would know that you've committed that sin. It was evident, it was known in society, and therefore, even in the society, you would be outcast, you would be ostracized, you would not be able to worship with the community. And so there's even a sense of religious judgment that comes along with that. And in the law, in Deuteronomy 22, it says, the people of the city shall stone her to death because she has committed a disgraceful sin. And so for her sin, she could have been stoned. And she's showing up at this Pharisee's house, who is the religious ruler, and all these other men. And so it's totally this like scene that could be so potentially dangerous for her that she's risking her own life. And then on top of that, someone mentioned the hair. In this society, the woman was not allowed to show her hair unless to her husband. And so she was there, and she's crying, washing his feet with her tears and her hair and all of that. And again, this is something that she could be punished, killed, and risk her life for. So there's all of these things coming up against her just within the society and the men that are around her. And then on top of that, she's risking reputation, right? So she's also facing, not yet. Okay, she's facing shame from within. And you can just imagine having committed this sin, being ostracized, and other things that she must feel about herself and the self-worth that she might feel. Or just this, maybe she feels this worth is only from a man, or she associates love with this sexual actions. Like these things that might be going through her mind, and it warps and twists her idea of even love. And so thinking about all these things that she's wrestling with, and this type of shame that's either from within or being put on her and told to her. And but what we actually see is not that at all. We see her coming, and in this scene, she's coming up, and she's moved by the fact that Jesus is not being treated in the way that he deserves. So in the passage when Jesus is like, do you see this woman? I came into your house, Simon. You did not give me any water for my feet, and she wet my feet with her tears and wiped them with her hair. You did not give me a kiss, but this woman from the time I entered has not stopped kissing my feet. You did not put oil on my head, but she poured perfume on my feet. And all of those things that he just went through and listed, those would be very custom, basic showing of hospitality to Jesus. He was invited to this man's home, and then he's just not shown any normal things. So this would be like, can I get your coat for you? Would you like a drink of water? Like very basic things. And so she sees the way Jesus is being treated, and she's just moved to go to action, to honor him, to love him. And so we see this, just the confidence, the security, the willing to risk humiliation to be able to show the love for Jesus. And instead of, as we talked about before, instead of holding back, We see her confidently having a confident identity. Instead of people-pleasing and like caring more about what Simon would think of her, or even Jesus for that matter, she's risking her life and her reputation. Instead of aggression, she's showing humility and love. And so, but the question really is like, how does all of this happen? How is she in this place? How is this woman being able to not give in to the shame, even though it's all being put on her, or potential? And so it says in verse 47, therefore I tell you, her many sins have been forgiven as her great love has shown. And typically in our minds today, we can think, oh, if I'm gonna do this and therefore I will be forgiven. But actually she shows up to this scene already forgiven. She is showing and pouring out love because of the forgiveness that she's already received. And she's given this new truth. Her guilt is taken away, her shame is taken away. If shame is the definition of being unworthy and of love and belonging, Jesus blows all of that up. He sees her, he knows her, he looks beyond her sin to forgive her and gives her this new identity and this new truth. And she's living this truth. And it's not a truth that she has within herself, it's a truth that Jesus has given to her. And I even brought up some truths that she's holding on to, but also we have the same exact truths. We're a new creation, we're set free. There's no condemnation. God has removed all sin. We're chosen, royal, holy, God's special possession. We are citizens and not foreigners. God lavishes us with love, and we are his children. And sometimes, we know these, we've seen these, but Satan twists them and puts that inkling of a doubt or a lie in our hearts and our minds. And so, what lies does Satan use to keep you from believing these truths? I know for me, there's a lot. I even have a whole list of them. But these are ones that I think are personal to me. And I can even share even more of that. But even this idea of not full forgiveness. I'm forgiven, but I have to still do this and this and this to stay in God's good graces. That could be my natural thought. I should know better. Shoulds. Every time you say should, it's shame, okay? I keep doing the same thing. He's tired of hearing it. Things are never going to change. I'm too much for him, this is too much for me to handle, or I'm too much for him to handle. I'm not lovable. If I keep up this good image, then I can have XYZ. Self-reliance. If they really knew who I was or what I did, they wouldn't love me or accept me. If I could just ignore these hard or dark places of my heart, and keep up these appearances, then I will be loved or accepted. So many things can come in that Satan really uses to put us in this place of shame. And I know that for me, I've done this and been on this journey of fighting shame and not living forgiven, but I know that it is a daily thing. And so I was just going to share and close with some practicals in our private practice and how we do this. And again, as we get older as Christians, sometimes it's harder to do this, and it's very basic actually trying to do this, but it's actually so transformational to be able to take captive our thoughts and then identifying the lie that we have, finding the truth and replacing that thought, and then sharing it with Jesus and a trusted friend. And so even if you were to think of an example, even as I was preparing this lesson, there was a lot of shame I had to fight even doing this. I was thinking, I'm not even worthy to speak or do these things. But then the truth would be, no, but I have the Spirit, the Spirit is going to speak. And, 2 Timothy 1:7, being able to find the scripture that's really going to help that. And I actually have, I actually have a worksheet that you can either take a picture, or I have a copy here that you can come take a picture of.
It's going to be hard to probably get the picture.
Yeah, you probably will not get the picture, but you can try. But it's all this list of what I feel or think about myself, and find that. They're pretty basic. You can tailor make this for yourself. What is true according to Scripture, and the Scriptures that refute that. And so, yeah, feel free to come up and take that picture.
When we post these to YouTube, we'll put a link in the description with this.
Okay, we will also do that.
Can you guys print it out tomorrow and bring it?
Thank you. Maybe.
I will try. I will try for you. But I do think that this is so important to really be able to break that down and actively do it. I literally have to do this every single day to be able to do that. But then, sometimes there's still a fear there. There's still something. And so I think we kind of have to keep pulling back those layers to really understand where our hearts are at. But also very important is talking about it. Shame loses its power when it's spoken. And I just think that we have to bring these things out into the light as well. And of course with a trusted friend. And we're going to talk about that also, community. That's why this is important, having a trusting community, or a trustworthy community. Anyway, all of that. But still, I think Satan can still work even in the midst of knowing and experiencing these truths. But even just to open it up for an answer or question, is what if we are forgiven as disciples, we are forgiven, but yet we're still stuck in shame? Like, what would be the difference? Like this woman, she is forgiven and she's not stuck in shame. We see that. We don't see any evidence of the shame happening. But like for me, as I'm fighting, I'm like, but I still leave a prayer time anxious. I still feel shame. I still feel XYZ. Monica.